Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Dental Board of California meeting. I'm Dr. Alan Felsenfeld, and I'm president of the board. Today is Thursday, November 7th, 2024. This board meeting is being held via teleconference with a disclosed in-person location available for board and public member participation. For all those who wish to participate online, please log on to the WebEx website provided on the posted agenda for this meeting. Instructions to connect to the meeting are provided on this agenda. The preferred audio connection is via telephone and not the microphone and speakers on your computer. The phone number and access code will be provided as part of your connection to the meeting. During each call for comments from board members and speakers, we will ensure that all comments that can be accommodated are heard before proceeding with the agenda. This is an official business meeting of the Dental Board of California. The board welcomes public comments on any item on the agenda, and it is the board's intent to ask for public comments prior to the board taking action on any agenda item. The DCA moderator will explain the process for providing public comment shortly. For individuals participating via WebEx, when called upon, the moderator will give the individual permission to unmute themselves, and they will have 2 minutes to make public comment, as will those in the room. The moderator will audibly announce when 30 seconds remain to conclude the public comment period. After the 2 minutes have lapsed, the individual will be placed back on mute. Only one public comment per agenda item is allowed per attendee. We ask all speakers to please stay on topic and not repeat testimony already provided. If you agree with the testimony already provided, please just state your name and that you are in support of any comments previously provided. I would like now to ask the DCA moderator to please explain how public comments will be taken during this meeting.
This is the moderator of the meeting. For purposes of today's meeting, when the board president opens public comment, members of the public who would like to provide public comment at our DCA location in Sacramento can approach the table and microphone at the front of the room. For those joining via WebEx, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature to facilitate public comment. When the board reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature will be turned on, and members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," in the question box, which is typically in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. The moderator will then call on the individual and give the individual permission to unmute their own microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments. At the conclusion of 2 minutes, the individual's microphone will be muted, and we will move on to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or board members. Questions submitted using this feature will not be answered. When making your comment, please make sure the comment is directed at the host in the dropdown. While you are free to express criticism or negative views, for the sake of the members of the public participating on the call, please do not use profane language when making public comments to the board. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item.
Thank you. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask the board secretary to please call the roll. Dr. Lorin? You want to make an excuse me, we need to have an announcement before we do that then.
This is Tara Welch, Board Counsel. We've got 3 board members participating remotely. I need to advise the members that you need to disclose whether there are any individuals 18 years of age or older present in the room with you at the remote location. And if so, the general nature of the members of your relationship with any such individuals. Dr. Thakur, do you have anyone over the age of 18 in your room? Ms. Medina, do you have anyone over the age of 18 in your room?
No.
Dr. Forge, do you have anyone over the age of 18 in your room?
No.
Okay, I'd like to remind the remote members that you must visibly appear on camera during the open portion of the meeting. And if you experience any trouble with your visual appearance on camera, you will need to let us know why you are not appearing on camera, potentially due to challenges with internet connectivity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Welch. Dr. Lorraine, please
Good
call the roll.
Good morning. This is Dr. Leila Lorraine, Board Secretary, or I will now call the roll.
Chan present.
Chan present. Cheng
Chang present.
present. David
Present.
present. Felsenfeld
Felsenfeld present.
Forge
Present.
present. Ladine present. McKenzie
here.
present. Medina
Present.
present. Molina present. Olage present. Pacheco
present.
present. Thakur
present.
present. You present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Lorraine. We now move on to item number 2, public comment on items not on the agenda. Before we open public comment on matters not on the agenda, I would like to remind individuals making comments to not discuss pending complaints, pending license application, or pending disciplinary actions that may later come before the board for a decision. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications, as they can provide information to the board members that is outside of the record in violation of the Administrative Procedure Act. Such discussions could create a conflict and lead to a board decision being challenged in Superior Court. Accordingly, if an individual makes comments on a pending disciplinary matter, the individual will be interrupted. The board can, of course, receive comments regarding the board's processes in general, but it cannot receive comments on specific case circumstances where the decision is still pending. In addition, public comments should address the board as a whole and not individual members. Please be aware that public comment during this agenda item should provide information to board members, but it is not a discussion between the board members and the public. The only action board members can take right now is to listen to comments and decide whether they want a future agenda item on the topic. Though this may seem at times like the board members are not being responsive, following these guidelines is critical to ensure the rules of the Open Meeting Act are followed to avoid compromising the speaker's goals or the board's missions. In the interest of time, as we've done in the past, we would like to request that public comments not repeat statements made by a prior commenter. If you're in support of the statement made by a prior individual and your comments have already been made, please just state your name or association and your support for the previous commenter. Legislative hearings regularly use this process, as it is a good way to ensure that we can hear from everyone today. Are there any in-person public comments now? Seeing none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the question and answer panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on items not on the agenda, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no request for comment at this time. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. We are now on agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action on the August 15th, 2024 board meeting minutes. You have the minutes before you. Is there any board member discussion on the August meeting minutes? Thank you. Was that Mr. David? Okay, Mr. David, motion to approve that. Dr. Thank you. Are there, now that motion's before us, are there further a chance to make any board member comments? Seeing none, are there any in-person public comments on the minutes? Again, seeing none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 3, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, will you please call the roll and record the votes for this agenda item?
Dr. Lorraine, Board Secretary, I will now call the vote. Chan, on the meeting minutes, August 15, 2024. Chan,
Chan, aye.
Chan, I, Cheng,
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I, David,
David, aye.
David, I, Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I, Forge,
Aye.
Forge, I, Larin, I, McKenzie,
Mackenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I, Medina,
Medina, aye.
Medina, I, Molina,
Aye.
Molina, I, Olage, Olage, I, Pacheco,
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I, Thakur,
Aye.
Thakur, I, you,
UI.
you, I, motion passes.
Thank you, Dr. Lorin. Next item is agenda item number 4, the Board President Report. I have a few items to report. Dr. Montez and I attended the DCA Board Leadership Meeting on September 17th this year. I attended an SB 501 stakeholders meeting held by CDA on 10/20 in October. And Dr. Montez and I will be attending the Dental Hygiene Board, I believe it's next Saturday, as she mentioned earlier. One other thing, as president, you have an option, not an option, you have a requirement to appoint people to various positions and committees. And on behalf of the Dental Board of California, I appointed Mr. Robert David, to the Community-Based Clinical Education Grant Advisory Committee. This committee is authorized by Health and Safety Code Section 104751, which supports the establishment of community-based clinical education rotations for dental students in their final year or dental residence. The purpose of this committee is to develop and review applications for the community-based clinical education grant of $10 million as administered by the California Dental Association Foundation. The 4 allied professional organizations or government agencies that are allowed 1 vote each include the California Department of Public Health Office of Oral Health, that's Dr. Pendicourt, I believe is the new chief of that, the California Dental Association, the California Primary Care Association, and the Dental Board of California. So, Mr. David, thank you for taking that on. We will expect a report of what's going on and what your involvement has been at the February board meeting. And that concludes my report. Are there any board member comments on the report of the president? Seeing none, are there any in-person public comments? Again, seeing none, are there public comments coming from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the question and answer panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on the Board President's report, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment at this time. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. We are now on agenda item number 5, the Executive Officer Report. This is an informational item, and we're going to ask Dr. Montez to report for us.
Good morning, Tracy Montez, Executive Officer. As I shared earlier this morning with regard to our personnel update, we're hovering at about a 5% vacancy rate. And as many of you are aware, we've been introducing staff at prior meetings. We took a little bit of a break from that because we had our May meetings, which were off-site, and then again had very busy, packed agendas. But what I'd like to do today, especially since we're here at Evergreen, and for those of you who may not be aware, our board offices are actually here at Evergreen. And so since we're here, I thought it would be nice to introduce staff who had not had the opportunity to be introduced in our earlier meetings or prior meetings, as well as any new staff. And I'm happy to say that I see a lot of really new faces. So again, it's very exciting. So with that, we're just going to take a few minutes to introduce the new staff. And I'm going to start with Wilbert, if you'd like to introduce your new staff. And then we'll just have each of the managers introduce your team that's here today. So again, it's not, and have you stand up when you're introduced. And then also this isn't everybody. Again, it's our new staff or those who have not been introduced. We still have a whole bunch of other folks next door to us that are working away right now. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Wilbert.
Thank you, Dr. Montez. Good morning, board members. I'd like to introduce everyone to the Administrative Services Unit. In addition to Morella and myself, I have the pleasure of introducing you first to Kara Pearson. Please stand up, Kara. I want everyone to understand when Tracy's talking about the vacancies being down to 5%, we have 84 authorized positions and 80 of those 84 are filled. A big success of that, of us getting all that staff is through Kara. We really appreciate all the work that she does, and she is our personnel slash facilities analyst. Next up, I'd like to introduce Yvette Ramirez. Yvette is our budget and contract analyst. She is responsible for keeping track of the board's funding and contracts. So she ensures that our appropriation is in line, and she works on the budget drills with the budget office and ensures that our contracts, such as, if enforcement needs to go to the shooting range or we need to access a database, Yvette is the one that creates those contracts. So, that is the administrative services unit, and I will pass it on to the next manager.
Somebody, yeah, I'll just let you guys go ahead and do your thing.
I'm sorry, this is the moderator, and people online cannot hear what's being said.
Sorry about that. I'll start over. I'm Jessica Only, manager for the anesthesia unit and customer service and support. Beginning with the anesthesia unit, I have Shelby West, who is the coordinator of our on-site inspection and evaluation program. She works with the permit holders, our subject matter experts who are assigned or appointed as evaluators, and has a very tough job coordinating with the number of people that are involved in doing these. Also, we have Tiara, who is our new legislative specialist, as well as the board's editor. John on the end has been with us for 4 years. The analyst who's responsible for processing all of the anesthesia and sedation permit applications, as well as the applications for pediatric endorsement. So John is very good at what he does. I can tell you that he processes applications usually within a day or two of receiving them. Reaches out to every applicant directly if there are issues. So I'm very proud of the anesthesia unit for taking on such an important role in working with our permit holders. Thank you. And also I'd like to introduce our customer service and support unit. We have Lena, Gary, and Jeff. Marissa could not be with us today, but she is teleworking from home and manning the phones. They are responsible for assisting all of our licensees when it comes to navigating the online system, assisting with renewals, with requests, how to change your name, how to request a certification letter. They are the frontline staff here at the board. They also assist the front counter, and they make sure that every package, every piece of mail that comes into the office gets to the right place. So I want to thank them also for their hard work. They are the first face that people see when they come to the office, and they do a great job.
Jessica, I want to jump in real quick too, and just again share that because we are on Microsoft Teams now, our customer support and service unit can telework because they can log in online and do this. So we now have options for just about everybody, I think, except our cashiers to telework. So it's been very exciting. The other thing that's nice is when I get those angry callers when they email me and say, I've called the board, several times and nobody's answered. And we can go in and we can look up their phone number and see, have they called several times? What's going on? So it's been very helpful in us addressing individuals who have frustration. So I just really want to emphasize that our customer service unit does a fabulous job. And so when you get those individuals who contact you and you forward them to me, which I appreciate, we do a lot of researching to see what's happened, and we do, educate them on the process and the fact that we do log calls and things like that. So thank you. Next manager.
My name is Matt Pendergast, and I am a supervising special investigator at the Dental Board in the Investigative Analysis Unit. And we have 2 new special investigators. If I could please have Alex Snook and Brianne Gregory stand up. And Alex has been with us for about 4 months now. He was a special investigator previously. And Brianne has been with us for about a week now. Both of them have a fire hose of information coming at them. And their role is to investigate complaints that come into the board, write reports, interview people, gather information, organize it, and ultimately send it off to our subject matter experts, who then do their own review of the investigation and come up with conclusions. So it's a very complex job, but they're both doing really well, and we appreciate having them here. Thank you.
I'll come stand out of the way. Hi, I'm Ricky Eady, licensing manager for licensing and examination unit with the Dental Board. I have 3 staff here that are relatively new with us. You guys want to stand up? First, we have Jasmine Gathright, who is our permit analyst, who processes most of our permits for fictitious names and additional offices, and also now recently mobile dental clinics. Next to her, we have April Cison, is one of our newer licensing analysts, will be about 4 months soon. And then next to her, we have Gretchen Rodriguez, who has just recently been with us for about a month now. And so with the 3 of them have come on, everything with getting through graduation season, everybody's been a great help. We've gotten through most of our applications. We're processing at a great rate. So I want to thank them for doing a great job with us.
Thanks, Ricky. And I want to point out Gretchen, too, is one of our bilingual analysts. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tina Valerie. I am the chief of the Dental Assisting Unit and the License and Program Compliance Unit. And I'm going to be introducing our Dental Assisting Unit staff. So if you guys could stand up for me. So we have several analysts here. We have one analyst missing, and the manager is actually on leave right now as well. So I want to just take a second to do a quick shout out to this group. I can't stress enough how amazing they're doing. They process all of the dental assisting applications that come through, orthodontic assistant, dental sedation assistant, and RDAEF applications. And as Jessica mentioned, for her staff, they are processing their work within 1 to 2 days of receipt. So I just can't stress enough how proud I am of this group. We have Charlie here. He's one of our analysts that process those applications. Ping. We have Stacy and Siobhan right here in the back. And then we also have Alexis. She processes all of our fingerprint enforcement applications. So anybody who comes through that has some enforcement background information, she will request records and process those applications for us. And she's very new, but she's doing an awesome job. And I'm, like I said, just super happy and impressed with this group every day. So.
Thank you. And again, I want to add too that it's amazing to see these applications processed so timely. They've worked very hard to refine and streamline, because this is not kind of the norm for the RDA applications, because there's no graduation season. They're just constantly coming in. And I do want to highlight Stacy back there, because she's done a lot of training. She's had a lot of new staff around her, and she's really stepped up to help train our new folks. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Libet. I'm manager of the License and Program Compliance Unit. It's a new unit. And I've been with the board for almost 2 years. I was editor before, the TRS position now. And the primary work of the License and Program Compliance Unit is to evaluate and approve dental assisting educational programs and courses, as well as continuing education courses, and to perform CE audits. So I want to introduce the three analysts who work at the LPCU. Can please stand up. So Taylor Williams has been with the board for 6 years, 2.5 years. Seems like, see, I can't imagine life without her. But she joined the LPCU when it was created this year. She's our lead analyst on CE audits and also assists with cost recovery and a lot of other unit activities. Inslee Eichenberg has been with the board since April 10th, and she's responsible for our dental assisting programs and courses desk. And as Tina mentioned at the the DAC meeting, we're ramping up our efforts in this area, and we just couldn't do it without her. And finally, Claudia Anderson has been with the board since September 2nd, and she's training up very fast. She's assisting Taylor, Inslee, Tina, and me with various projects, including the CE audits, really effectively. So I want to thank everyone for their hard work in the unit.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paige Regali. I'm the Chief of Administration and Compliance here at the board. I've been here for quite a while now through various positions and units. Today, I'm going to introduce some new staff in both the Complaint and Compliance unit as well as someone who I am directly supervising right now and is kind of a floater in our enforcement unit, I would say. If everyone can stand up. They're already standing in the back over here. They were prepared. So we have Jalen and Jesse in the back over here. Both of them work in our Complaint and Compliance unit. They do various things on a daily basis. So we receive quite a few complaints, as everyone knows, on a yearly basis. We actually have had a huge uptick. So our Complaint and Compliance unit is extremely busy and growing rapidly. Jalen is extremely new, as well as Jesse. They've both been here for about a month or so at this point, maybe a little bit less, and are doing phenomenal. Jalen deals with all of our intake of complaints. So when the complaint comes in, the initiation of it, making sure it's routed properly, that it's done within the statutory timeframes that's required for the entire intake process, as well as responding to any emails, any consumer issues that come in through our email bucket or phone lines. We also have Jesse, who's one of our analysts in the Complaint Compliance unit. So once it gets done through the intake phase, then all of the cases or complaints get assigned to the analyst to do further review. They deal with the consultants. They deal with obtaining all of the appropriate records. If we have any fictitious name permit or additional office permit complaints, our analysts now actually send non-compliance letters, and they also issue citations, if applicable, for non-response and not coming into compliance for these violations. We also have Alec, who is our enforcement floater. Technically, he's in our investigative analysis unit, but as one of the analysts in the unit, I'm working with them directly at this point. Alec does a ton of stuff. So he came in and has entered into our Public Records Act request position. So he is learning very quickly in this position. He's already performing basically all of the duties and working with all of the requests. He comes to us from outside of state service. So he was working with actually our diversion program previously. So he has a lot of monitoring experience as well with that, and some enforcement within DCA, not specifically our board, but other healing arts boards. And then before that, he had a long tenure of state service as well at another department. So he's very familiar with the processes. He also is going to be doing investigative case reviews, I guess. So for our subsequent arrest records, anytime there's a fingerprint issue or there's criminal convictions on different licensees, he would be one of the analysts who's going to be reviewing and investigating those cases for possible transmittal to the Attorney General's office. He also does probation monitoring. So he's already gotten acclimated with all of the different stuff that he will be doing in his current position. And he's doing a great job, as well as Jesse and Jalen. So thank you all. We're excited to have you here at the board, and you all are doing so well.
Okay, and then obviously many of you met Brant Nelson, our legislative and regulatory specialist. Brant, I think you went around, yeah, and he'll be speaking later. So before you all leave, I just want to again really say how excited I am for all of our folks, as well as our existing staff, those that are here and those that are back at the office. Many of you know that I'm going to be retiring. I'm going to be starting a soft retirement in January and leaving the board in the spring, so you won't see me as much around. I'll be here in February, but most likely our Assistant Executive Officer, Christy Bell, will be sitting here. But this, having a staff like all of you has made the decision very difficult because you are all just wonderful. And I wish I could sit here and talk about each one of you and even our new people, because I've heard so many great things about our new staff. And then those that I've worked with here for a while, you all have such unique, wonderful qualities that you bring to the board. You know, John brings treats once a week to the staff. Everybody enjoys his little comic. April goes around and does beautiful artwork on everybody's boards. But again, I could go on and on. You all bring wonderful qualities to the board, and it's just been fabulous working with all of you. And I want the board to know that I'm leaving with these great people here, as well as Christy, to facilitate the process. And I hope that you will continue to make appearances from time to time at the board meetings. And with that, I'll excuse you because I know you all have a ton of work to do.
Before you go, you can charge this to me the time you're gone. I have to say that on behalf of the board, and I can say it without objection, we are absolutely overwhelmed by the amount of work that you guys do. This is a very, very busy board with lots of moving parts, with almost 100,000 people that we're responsible for, and not even counting the, unfortunately, thousands of complaints that come through. And we would not be doing as well as we do, and we are a good board. We do very well, and we thank you all for what you're doing. Now you can go.
And that concludes my executive officer report. I have a few other items, but that I will speak to, but they're associated with other board items. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Montez. Are there any board comments on her report? Mr. David?
I'm just kind of curious, one of your staff members, one of your managers mentioned there's an uptick in complaints, and maybe we'll get into that later in the meeting, but I'm just kind of curious if there's a common theme or why that is.
We will address that, and we're going to actually address another question that you had brought up at the last board meeting. So thank you for getting us prepped for that.
Thank you. Any other board comments on Dr. Montez's report? Are there any in-person public comments on her report? Seeing none, are there public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 5, please type comment in the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. We now move on to agenda item number 6, report on the Department of Consumer Affairs activities, which may include updates on the department's administrative services, human resources, enforcement, information technology, communications, and outreach, as well as legislative, regulatory, and policy matters. Today, I would like to introduce Ms. Judy Bucciarelli. Did I get it right?
You did.
All right, and she's the DCA Board and Bureau Relations Staff Services Manager to provide this report. Good morning, Ms. Bucciarelli.
Good morning. Again, my name is Judy Bucciarelli from the California Department of Consumer Affairs Board and Bureau Relations. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Before I begin, I would like to thank the board for its service and dedication to protect the consumers of California. In addition, I would like to congratulate the board on a successful sunset review. To begin, I'll start with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion update, which I'll refer to as DEI. DCA's DEI Steering Committee met last month, and we are excited to announce its newly elected leadership. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Reggie Varghese, Medical Board of California's Executive Director, will serve as chair, and Marlon McManus, the Board of Behavioral Sciences Assistant Executive Officer, will serve as vice chair. With Reggie and Marlon's years of experience and sincere commitment, we greatly look forward to accomplishing many DEI initiatives under their leadership. Next, I have a new training for board members. DCA is currently updating its Unveiling Unconscious Bias training to specifically focus on board members, your critical roles, and how unconscious bias can affect your decision-making authority. The training will be self-paced and available in DCA's online learning management system. We anticipate launching this new training in early 2025, and board members will be required to take it annually. As a reminder, DCA offers over 20 online DEI training courses in its learning management system. While these courses are not mandatory, board members and board leaders are strongly encouraged to take these trainings as you are instrumental in leading department-wide change. Next, to support and maximize outreach to our military community, DCA is hosting a second live webinar on November 21st to share information about military licensing resources. During the webinar, attendees will learn about licensing resources available to members of the military and their spouses or domestic partners. The webinar will also feature a demonstration of DCA's federal professional license portal and state registration process, which was launched last fall, as well as a Q&A session. Webinar details and information will be available at www.dca.ca.gov/military. Next, there is a new business and travel expense reimbursement program. The state's Department of Human Resources, also known as CalHR, recently released an updated travel policy to align with the federal policies outlined by the U.S. General Services Administration. Effective October 1, DCA will use the federal standard meals and incidental expense rates for in-state and out-of-state travel. DCA will also use the federal standard and non-standard reimbursement lodging rates. Information on these changes was shared with board leaders at the end of September. Board members are strongly encouraged to become familiar with the new travel expense reimbursement program and rates. Please contact Board and Bureau Relations with any questions regarding these changes. Next, season of giving. We are officially in the season of giving, and DCA is honored to join in the annual charitable campaigns launching this month, DCA's annual turkey drive and the state's Our Promise campaign. On November 13th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., board members and employees will have an opportunity to give back to the community. DCA will hold its third annual turkey drive with donations benefiting Joey's Food Locker, a local food bank located near DCA headquarters in Sacramento. Donations of frozen turkeys and non-perishable food items will be accepted at DCA headquarters, the Bureau of Automotive Repair headquarters, and Evergreen building locations in the Sacramento area. For information on how to participate and donate, please contact your executive officer. The items collected during the event are part of a larger state employees food drive that takes place this time of year as well. Later in the month, DCA will announce collection box locations. Next, the Our Promise charitable campaign, state employees giving at work, and board members will have the opportunity to support nonprofit causes they are passionate about through payroll deduction or giving a one-time donation. These contributions have a positive impact on our communities and another way for DCA to show it cares for California. This year's campaign is led by Monica Vargas, Deputy Director of Communications, and Karen Navarro, Assistant Deputy Director of Communications. DCA's campaign officially launches on November 18th and runs through December 31st. In the meantime, please contact Board and Bureau Relations with any questions or if you'd like information on how you can give. This concludes the DCA update. And again, thank you for the opportunity to join you today. At this time, I'll turn it back to President Felsenfeld, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bucciarelli. Are there any board comments or questions on this report? This is informational. Seeing none, is there any in-person comment? Again, seeing none. Are there public comments for those individuals who are participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 6, please either type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Bucciarelli. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bucciarelli, yeah, I did it wrong this time. All right. We're going to now move on to item number, let's see where we are here, number 7. This is going to be the report on the Dental Hygiene Board of California activities. Mr. Lum is coming forward. Good morning, Mr. Lum.
Morning.
Just take me a minute. I'm transitioning from paper to electronic, catching up in the world.
Good for you, sir. As well we should.
Good morning, President Felsenfeld and Executive Officer Montez, board members and staff. I'm Anthony Lum, the Executive Officer of the Dental Hygiene Board, to report our activities to you. My president, Dr. Carmen Dones, apologizes that she couldn't be here due to a work commitment. My report is short today. So items that we've been handling beyond normal program operations are, the first thing is the strategic plan. We've been working on this for over a year and a half, and unfortunately at our July meeting, we couldn't establish a quorum. We had a couple of board members that were ill, and so the strategic plan will be brought forth to our board meeting next week for hopefully ratification. The next item is educational programs. We continue our oversight of the dental hygiene educational programs, and it's really been consuming our time. There's a lot of issues that have been arising, but schools are working to fix the deficiencies of the law and the code of standards. But again, it's just taking so much time to address the issues and overseeing multiple complaints that we've received, but we're handling it very well, and my staff is doing a wonderful job. We've conducted multiple site visits to the dental hygiene educational programs over the past few months to ensure a safe practicing environment for the students and operational compliance of the law. The next one is our personnel update. We currently have one public member vacancy remaining, and a new member was just appointed to our board on Halloween. This was appointed by the Assembly Speaker, and I'm going to meet with her this afternoon by phone, so I look forward to getting to know her and working with her. The next item is our regulations, and I wanted to thank the board, the dental board, I want to clarify because I don't want to mix up our boards, for working with us in collaboration of the infection control regulations. The update discussion began years ago in 2018, and it's encouraging to see the progression in the current draft. I'll be presenting the draft regulations at my board meeting next week for consideration. That concludes my report, and I want to say congratulations to E.O. Montez on her retirement plans, and I'm envious.
Thank you, Mr. Lum. This is an informational report. Are there any board comments? Do you? No. All right. If not, are there any in-person public comments? Again, seeing none, are there public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on Agenda Item 7, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Lum.
Thank you.
We are now on agenda item number 8, which is the budget report. Mr. Rumbawa, if you'll be kind enough to give us that report.
Good morning again, board members. Wilbert Rumbawa, Administrative Services Unit Manager. I am happy to present the budget report and how efficient the board is. So my report will be running from pages 42 through 48. I'm going to give an update on our final expenditures for the previous fiscal year. The previous fiscal year, the board has spent $17,957,569. Of that, roughly $10 million was for personnel services, and that can be attributed to the board filling their staff. And then $8 million was approximately for O&E or general expenses. That includes contracts, AG expenses, pro rata, travel, board meetings. All in all, the board was able to revert approximately $3 million. So that being said, out of our appropriation, we are so efficient that we saved that much money. In addition to my budget report, I'd like to update everyone on the control sections that were included in the Budget Act. Some of these items are going to be Control Section 4.12. Initially, the Department of Finance had identified 4 positions for the board to be eliminated, but through various meetings with the department's executive office and the DCA budget office, that the positions are only down to 1 that are identified for elimination rather than the 4. Again, everything is still ongoing, so nothing has been finalized at this time. In regards to Control Section 4.05, the amount that will be reduced from the board's budget is $147,000, which will be a permanent budget cut beginning in 24-25. That is it for my budget report. There are no action items at this time.
Dr. Montez would like to speak, and I have a question if she doesn't raise it.
So thank you, Wilbert, for your presentation. I do want to share with the board that overall we do have a structural imbalance. So in future meetings, we will be looking to do fee increases because once we're fully staffed and expending all of our funds, we will need additional positions and additional funds for various things. So for example, this lovely screen that you see here, we're borrowing this from one of our fellow boards. We're going to be buying one for ourselves because we need this kind of equipment for these types of meetings, as well as when we work with our Orange field office. And so I'm going to be spending some money as long as Wilbert lets me and keeps me in check. But we do have things that we need for the board. And it does include things like outreach, like the signs that you see here are relatively new. We did not have any kind of materials when we do outreach events. And so there are things that the board needs, but we are still being efficient in our use of resources and so forth. So, and then also finally, I want to thank the Department of Consumer Affairs because they're working with all the boards and bureaus that have been asked to reduce their positions. We are special funded, which means we don't draw from the general fund. We need our positions to carry out consumer protection mandates, and the department has been wonderful in supporting our efforts. And so that's why we've gone from 4 positions down to 1, and I'm still fighting for that 1 position. We have plenty of work for this individual to do, and luckily we have the data to support that. So we'll see what happens in the final outcome. But again, thank you to the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Montez. Mr. Rumbauer, my mind is like a sieve. You had mentioned something about $147,000. Is that correct? At the
Yes.
end of your, what was that again? Because that's what triggered my question, but I can't remember what that was for.
So it's an ongoing budget reduction, beginning in 24,
Thank you.
25.
That's fine. I have it. We're going to reduce our budget by $147,000. First of all,
Correct.
Congratulations to you and our staff for doing such a wonderful job with a $3 million reversion. That's great. And that in the almost full employment era too is very nice. That budget reduction of $147,000, will that have impact on us? And what might that be?
At this time, unless there's any unforeseen circumstances that come up, the general expense of our program is, there's no issues.
It's not an issue, as
not
you're
an issue.
suggesting, even with the television sets.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
It's been budgeted.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you very much. And congratulations again. I think that Dr. Loreen would like to make a comment, and Mr. David will be next.
Thank you for being here today, but I had a question on page 44 where it says board staff notes, the $5 million Budget Act of 2020, it says $5 million repayment will be coordinated as part of any future regulatory and statutory fee increase proposals. What exactly does that mean?
So there was a $5 million general fund loan that was taken from the dental board, and it was, in the Budget Act of 2020. So that's scheduled to be repaid this fiscal year. At this time, the board is scheduled to have that in our budget by mid-year, unless we're told otherwise by the Department of Consumer Affairs. But at this time, it will be repaid with interest, scheduled to be repaid.
The question is, will be coordinated as part of any future regulatory and statutory increase proposals. Does it have to go along with something else? Or what
Yes.
does it mean?
So in the event, as Dr. Montez was alluding to, when we talked about fee increases, any type of fee increases or budget change proposals that the dental board will be pursuing, the loan needs to be repaid prior to those actions.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Loreen. Mr. David?
You mentioned because of efficiencies, a fair amount of money was reverted. Where did it revert to? To our fund or?
The dental board fund.
Excellent. Okay.
So the dental board within the Department of Consumer Affairs has our own fund. And so it rests there.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? Ms. McKenzie? You can be Dr. McKenzie. You are, actually.
Yeah, so I think this is more of a comment. Just obviously, if we look forward, if you look at page, I think it's 48, if we look forward out, clearly, we will be overspending revenues. So I think I obviously support the fact that we have to raise fees because this is not sustainable. I know it takes a while, and I know we're not at the statutory limit, but I will also note how long it can take to increase the statutory limit. So something also to consider at the same time.
Dr. Montez, you want to comment?
Yes, if I may add to it. So we actually had a fee increase agenda item, but other items took priority. So Wilbert will be bringing it at the February board meeting. Thank
Yes,
you.
stay tuned.
Yes. So because it's going to be a regulatory change because we haven't hit our limits, which is a good thing. It doesn't require a law change. And we have been working with our stakeholder group, so they're aware that it is coming. And so, yes, we hope to see this item on the February board meeting agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board comments? Got you all. Very good. Are there any in-person public comments on the budget report?
Dr. Felsenfeld, I'm going to do a little addition to that.
Certainly.
In discussions with the Department of Consumer Affairs Budget Office, it was the governor's budget will be released on January 10th, and it will be a better idea for us to see how all the budget drills have affected us in regards to the reduction of the one possible position and the 147,000. So that will be a better picture of what we were going to raise, which fees we're going to raise.
So we'll see what happens in February is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. No other board, we have one more, Mr. David. Go ahead.
Just in developing additional fee options, if we're anticipating raising fees, we need to be, I don't want to have an outstanding loan to the general fund before we raise fees. I mean, I want that money back, or at least.
That's not possible.
Yeah, we can't.
So that's why that language is.
Why would our licensees have a fee increase when we're owed money from the general fund? That doesn't make any sense to me, but we can talk about it at the next meeting.
That is why we do have the regulatory language of the loan repayment being paid before any other actions are taken.
Okay. Okay.
So in other words, it has to occur.
Okay.
They have to pay us back. Yeah,
Okay, thank
they
you.
have to pay us back. And although we expect them to pay it back, the California state budget, as you know, has had issues. And so they expect to pay us back every year, and it moves forward, and we add it to our agenda. But before we can raise fees, it has to be paid back. So if we're providing the data that we need to raise fees, then we anticipate that the legislature will work with us and we'll get that repayment.
Excellent.
Are we clear?
Excellent.
So an additional caveat to that is
Yes, sir.
when a fund condition is created, so expenditures are increased by 3%, roughly 3% each fiscal year, while revenues remain static. So again, it doesn't account for the reversion that the board has. We're not going to count on that, but that's the way the fund condition is made. So on paper, it does look like there is a structural imbalance, but obviously the board takes steps to ensure that, we don't go into the negative.
All right, let's go back. Any more board comments? And then we'll go back. If seeing none, we'll go back to the in-person, give you another shot at that since we've had some other information. Anybody in person want to speak to this? Certainly not. Okay, are there public comments from individuals on WebEx? Moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 8, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, Mr. Umbauer. We'll be talking to you more. We're on item number 9A, an update on the dental licensure and permit statistics. Mr. Edie, where are you there, sir? If you'll be kind enough to give us this report.
Thank you, Dr. Felsenfeld. My name is Ricky Eady. I am the manager for the license. And I'll be presenting agenda item 9A, which begins on page 49 of your meeting materials. The memo presents an overview of initial applications for dental licensure submitted to the board, law and ethics written examination statistics, and licensing and permit statistics. I also like to verbally report the number of pediatric endorsements issued to anesthesia and sedation permit holders, which will be included in future memos and are as follows. For moderate sedation for PEDs under 13 at 52, PEs under 7 at 50, general anesthesia not applicable for under 13, 113 for under 7, and then medical general anesthesia not applicable for under 13 and 85 at under 7. Going forward, page 58 of the meeting materials provides statistics on the population per active dental license, beginning with fiscal year 22-23 to current. Yuba County has the highest population per dentist, and San Francisco County has the lowest population per dentist. And the statistics presented here are informational only, and no action is requested at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edie. I think Dr. Montez would like to comment.
Thank you, Ricky,
Mhm.
Mr. Eady. I would like to just add to, again, that the information that Ricky provided on pediatric, that was a question that came up by our stakeholders. And we thought, again, that's good information. And so by the time the question came to us, we had already printed our materials and posted them, but we thought, we'll add this. So you, again, as Mr. Eady said, you'll see these in future agenda items. I would also like to say with regard to applications, because this is related to the item, that our licensing and examination unit is going to hold an informal FAQ session with the school deans on November 20th. This is something that they did last year to help with application questions. And so I just want to include that statement there, that again, it's related to the application process and it's to help address questions that may come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eady. Not yet. Any board comments on the report? Dr. Chan?
Good morning.
Hey.
Would we get relevant data by gathering stats on applications for a licensure from outside of California? And then if that's relevant, would we get relevant information tracking trends?
It's something we definitely could look at. I mean, I think right now we do keep track of applications. Well, we can run reports basically of applications that are coming from outside of California, and that's typically, licenses coming in via credential if they're already licensed somewhere else in another state. And I don't know what information would change mostly, but we could definitely track that and report back to you.
And I think too, we just need to be careful that we don't run into any kind of sample sizes that could be problematic for confidentiality if something leads into discipline, so forth. So just want to keep that in mind. But I'm looking at Paige for some direction here. But again, we'll run the reports and see what we can do. Her and Jody and Ricky. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comments on the report? Seeing none, are there in-person public comments? Seeing none, are there public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? Would the DCA moderator please facilitate the lines for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 9A, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We're displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eady.
All right, thank you.
We're going to turn this back to item number 9B, which is an update on the Office of Professional Examination Services Occupational Analysis of the dentist profession. Dr. Montez.
Good morning again. Tracy Montez, Executive Officer, the Dental Board. This is just a very, very brief update on the Office of Professional Examination Services Occupational Analysis of the dentist profession. As you are all aware of, OPS, as we refer to it, is an internal consulting unit within the Department of Consumer Affairs, and they contract with our board to provide various examination-related services. And so they just recently completed what's called an occupational analysis of the dentist profession. That is a methodological study that looks at the profession within the scope of how it's currently defined in law. And it looks to see the frequency and importance of various duties that are performed. And from that analysis, it creates what we call an examination plan for which we build our exam. So right now, we use it for the law and ethics exam. It significantly has changed in terms of the expectations for testing the law and ethics. And we also use it to do what we call our audits of our national exams. And we've presented these in the past too when we look at the ADEX and the REB exam. All these reports are posted online. We have it here for you, a copy for you. We had about a 9% response rate of good data, which is reasonable. You know, it's getting better. The questionnaire, again, I'm not going to go into detail of the whole methodology. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any, either now or you know, in general, but this is a psychometric study, so there is a certain way in which it's done. And that's it. It's informational only because we accept the results of OPS because it's based on Business and Professions Code Section 139, which requires the DC boards and bureaus to have fair, valid, and legally defensible exams. And this is my area, so it's my thing. And I've always been very proud of the dental board. You know, way back when, always working with OPS and having good, strong examinations. I know sometimes the pass rates have been a little frustrating. I won't go into that, but we're always ready to explore and discuss those rates from a psychometric perspective, again, a legally defensible as well perspective. So with that, I'll just open it up to any questions that the board members may have.
I'll start by suggesting that this is an ongoing thing. We have to do this periodically for all of what we do to be sure that we're doing the right things when we do our exams and testing the things that are being done by those who we license. That being said, are there any board member comments on this report by Dr. Montez? Dr. Chan?
Well, thank you for this. And 336 pages? It's more of a comment and maybe I'm not sure of how to frame a question. If we look at page 18 in the meeting materials, 95 of 336, we look at different categories of the content area, particularly items 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Many of the items in the question there are adult-centric or procedures on adults. And I'm sensitive to pediatric concerns that it's not in here, even though there were some of the subject matter experts that were pediatric dentists. Treating kids is different. It has different parameters. You don't extrapolate what happens to an adult to a kid. And as a subbar, we see instances in the disciplinary cases over the terms that I've seen it, where there have been overextensions. Again, I'm not sure how to frame the question to it, but I'm sensitive to that gap.
And I would certainly share that with OPS so that when they do the exam development as it's related to law and ethics, because we do, you know, rely on the other national exams. But when you look at the actual table 10 in there, you'll see task and knowledges. And so I would hope that when our subject matter experts who are licensed dentists, we'd want to make sure we have those that are work in pediatrics, that they would then craft test questions that are linked to the task and the knowledges. So when an item, a test question is written, it's written toward the performance of a task with the knowledge of. And so they would take these and the expectation is that they would gear some of those questions for pediatrics. So, but certainly I will pass that along to OPS to ensure that we have enough questions sample pediatric.
As a sidebar, and I'm not sure how to frame this too, if we look at the population that is being treated in California, and we separate out over 13 and under 13, that might give a weight of what's important relative to the size of the population of kids versus adults in terms of the sampling of questions. Thank you.
I think we've got that noted. We'll work with you. Thank you. Any other comments from the board on Dr. Montez's report? Seeing none, are there any in-person public comments? Again, seeing none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 9B, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We will give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Montez. I see Ms. Olney walking forward. We got item 10A, general anesthesia and sedation permits, inspections and evaluation statistics. Good morning, Ms. Olney.
Good morning, Dr. Felsenfeld and other members of the board. Jessica Olney, manager for the anesthesia unit, and I'll be presenting agenda item 10A. This does provide a statistical overview of the board administered on-site inspections and evaluations for general anesthesia, medical general anesthesia, and the new moderate sedation permits. Also included is the current evaluator pool, which is found at the bottom of page 223. No action is requested. This is informational, and I am available to answer any questions.
Are there any board member comments or questions? I'm going to be a little bit premature in that somewhere in the next few minutes, we're going to try to get 19 people credentialed again.
Correct.
Approved. I guess my question is, relatively speaking, and some of these are old conscious sedation people going over to moderate sedation. That's 18 of them. All right. And one's a new person in general anesthesia. And we'll do all that. But are we seeing consistency of the number of people? If we had 100 old conscious sedation, and are they all converting over, or are we losing them? Do we know? Are we increasing in any of the areas, either general anesthesia and medical general anesthesia or moderate sedation?
I believe the numbers have remained steady.
Pretty much the same people.
Correct. We
So-
do still have 2 months left in the year
Okay.
for permit holders that will expire by December 31st of 2024. And they will need to convert to the new permit. But overall, I believe the moderate sedation were about 100 less than what we had at the peak of the conscious sedation permit.
So we might be losing a few in that area.
We may.
Just to watch it.
And there are some permit holders who decided to, that it is time to retire and they don't want to pursue the new permit. So,
Okay,
yes.
and that's certainly reasonable. We understand that. Okay, any other board comment on the report? Dr. Chan?
Good morning, Jessica. Just for a point of inquiry, many years ago, when I was president of the National Honor Society, we hosted this forum. It's called the International Dental Ethics and Law, and it had participants from countries from Europe, Asia, and one of the sidebars that they did was to create, and I can't remember the country, but it looked at what were the gaps in disciplinary actions relative to anesthesia. And what they did was they modeled it after the model of airline crashes. What happened? And they dissected the processes and the events that led to the shortfall or gaps. Would that be something for future discussion to consider so that it could be educational? Because we're protecting the public and we identify those shortfalls statistically, that might help protecting who we have to protect.
Well, I would like to say that the board has reported to the legislature initially, and my apologies, I don't remember the exact date of that report, but we did submit the first report in December, and then we submitted a supplemental report in May, and sorry for the life of me.
Yeah, I can't think of the date either, but it is on our website.
It is on
under
our
reports, forms and publications,
Yes.
reports.
And we do continue to monitor and receive reports of deaths and hospitalizations. We are required to continue to do that. And we do, although the anesthesia unit is not in the enforcement unit, we don't look at those documents and records. You know, we go by the reporting form, we track what the progress is so that we can update our tracking. But we don't necessarily look into the details of each and every one of those reports.
And that may not be within our scope, but it might be something for discussion to consider. Providing a model of analysis of what happened and where those gaps were that led to these events. But thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board questions or comments on this report? Is there any in-person public comments? Seeing none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? The DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 10A, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Olney, you're not quite done yet. We're going to go to item 10B, a discussion and possible action regarding appointment of general anesthesia, medical general anesthesia, and moderate sedation permit holders. Do you have any comments on it before we go and do what we have to do?
I think this will be quite lengthy. I'll keep my comments to a minimum and just offer any support or answer any questions that you may have.
That will be fine. I indicated earlier, we have 19 people that we have to credential, as it were, or approve for being evaluators. And what we have done over the last couple of years is we've done them one at a time, which is appropriate so that we can act on them one at a time. Over the last couple of years, I have suggested I will be happy to nominate or make a motion for each of them. Someone on the board can raise their hand and get their name in the record and second it. And then we'll go through the motion inappropriately. We'll have comments and then we'll take votes. So we have 19 again, and that's actually good though, because we want to keep the numbers up, if not growing. So I'm going to go here, and this will start on page 225 of 336 on your report. So I'm going to start off by making a motion that Dr. Ricardo Lugo is approved for evaluating GA permits.
Mackenzie, second.
What's that, please?
So moved.
No, I made the motion.
I second.
Oh, you're second. Dr. Molina seconded. Thank you very much. Is there any board member discussion on the motion? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, would you please facilitate the lines for WebEx comment on the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please take the roll and record the votes.
Okay, the motion is to approve Dr. Ricardo Lugo as evaluator for the GA permit. I'll take the roll. Chan?
Chan, aye.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie?
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Dr. Dean Ahmad as a evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Alagi, second. Thank you. Any board member discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Is there any in-person comments on the motion? Seeing none. DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for WebEx participants.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened the Q&A panel. If any member of the public who would like to comment, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please take the roll and record the votes.
The motion is to approve Dr. Dean Ahmed as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Molina, aye.
Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Dr. Derek Alexanians to be an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Is there a second?
You second.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Second. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, is there any in-person comments on this motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public, for participation via WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please take the vote and record them.
The motion is to approve Dr. Derek Alexandrians as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes. You, I.
Premature there, but thank you, Dr. Lirin. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Jeffrey Allred be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Do we have a second? Mackenzie second. Thank you. Is there any board member discussion? Seeing none, are there any in-person comments on this motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please once again, open it up for WebEx comments.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or you may simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please take the vote.
The motion is to approve Dr. Jeffrey Allred as a moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Aye.
Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Dr. Rajiv Anand to be an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Was that Mr. David? Thank you. Is there any board discussion on the motion? No. Is there any in-person comments on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please facilitate the WebEx for those who wish to comment from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or you may simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the votes.
Motion is to approve Dr. Rajiv Anand as a moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Dr. Pengjin Kevin Chen to be an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Second?
You second.
Dr. Yu, thank you. Is there any board comment? Seeing none, is there any in-person comment on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please open the WebEx for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the votes.
Motion is to approve Dr. Pension Kevin Chen as a moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Can I?
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
Kenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate, I make a motion that Dr. Maziyar Ibrahimi is approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Second anywhere?
Chang,
Dr. Molina, thank you. Any board comment? Any in-person public comment on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please open the WebEx for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment.
Bless you.
All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the votes.
The motion is to approve Dr. Maziyar Ibrahimi as a moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Can I?
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
Kenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that Dr. Tyler Hendry be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits.
Chang, second.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. Is there any board?
Chang.
Chan, second.
Kevin.
Chang, I'm so sorry. Chan, I apologize. It sounded like Chan to me. Hearing aids, you know. All right, so the motion was seconded by Dr. Chang. Thank you. And is there any board discussion on that? Seeing none, is there any in-person discussion on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please facilitate WebEx for those who wish to comment on that.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the votes.
The motion is to approve Dr. Tyler Henry as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Can I?
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, aye.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
Kenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina? Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Michael Holm be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Dr. Pacheco, seconds. And is there any further board discussion? Seeing none, is there any in-person comment on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please facilitate the WebEx participants to comment if they wish.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Was there, Dr. Molina?
On the form, he marked different type of practices. I think that's probably confusion on his part.
What is your question? Say that again.
So on where it says type of practice, endodontics, prosthodontics, perio in general was marked. I think that he made a mistake and got confused.
Yes.
He's a general dentist.
Correct. Sorry, Dr. Felsenfeld, that is on page 237, the
Okay.
application. It's where the permit holder or applicant will select the type of practice in which they work. And they selected multiple.
Is he a moderate sedation? Has he been vetted as a moderate sedation provider?
Yes.
He has.
That's probably not something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
He is capable and vetted, and we have approved him for that. I think he got confused in terms of that. You can actually get back to him and verify that if you wish.
Correct. Dr. Holm was a previous conscious sedation
And he was. So
evaluator
he's
as well.
moved over. So, okay, thank you, and thank you, Dr. Molina, for picking that up. We're up to number 10. This is Dr. K. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Kayvon Javid.
No, we didn't.
I'm
vote.
sorry, we didn't.
No vote, no
I'm
vote.
sorry. Thank you. We're about to do that. All right. Okay,
I
that's
think we have
one.
the
Go ahead. No,
public-
go for it.
Public comment?
Public comment has been done.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
everything
I think
okay?
we're good. Yeah, ready to
Okay,
vote.
the motion is to approve Dr. Michael Holm as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan,
Chan, I.
Chan, I, Cheng,
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I, David,
David, aye.
David, I, Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I, Forge,
Forge, aye.
Forge, I, Larin, I, Mackenzie,
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I, Medina,
Medina, aye.
Medina, I, Molina,
Molina, aye.
Molina, I, Olage,
Aye.
Olage, I, Pacheco,
Checo, aye.
Pacheco, I, Takur,
Takur, aye.
Takur, I, you,
UI.
you, I, motion passes.
That's fine. Okay. All right. I am now ready to make a motion that Dr. Kayvon Javid be approved to conduct evaluations for moderate sedation permits.
Second,
Second. Was that,
Larin.
was that a second, Dr.
Yes,
Javid?
yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other board comment? Seeing none. Any in-person public comment? Seeing none. DCA moderator, please facilitate comments by the WebEx participants.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please record the votes.
Motion is to approve Dr. Kayvon Javid as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan,
Chan, I.
Chan, I, Cheng,
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I, David,
David, aye.
David, I, Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I, Forge,
Forge, aye.
Forge, I, Larin, I, Mackenzie,
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I, Medina,
Medina, aye.
Medina, I, Molina,
Aye.
Molina, I, Olage, Olage, I, Pacheco,
Checo, aye.
Pacheco, I, Takur,
Takur, aye.
Takur, I, you,
UI.
you, I, motion passes.
All right. Dr. Thakur's picture is there. That's fine. Thank you. We're having a little change. Hang on a second while we do this. We keep going? All right, we're on a roll here. Okay, I would like to make a motion that Dr. Guohao Lin be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Do we have a second?
Chang, second.
Thank you. Who was that, please?
Chang, second.
Chen? Okay, Cheng again. All right, I'll get you to. All right, thanks, Dr. Cheng. Any other board comments? Are there any in-person comments on this motion? All right, DCA moderator, please facilitate comments from those participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Would the board secretary please call the roll and record the votes?
Motion is to approve Dr. Guo Hao Lin as evaluator for moderate sedation permit. Chan,
Chan, I.
Chan, I, Cheng,
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I, David,
David, aye.
David, I, Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I, Forge,
Forge, aye.
George, I, Larin, I, Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I, Medina.
Medina, I.
Medina, I, Molina.
Molina, I.
Molina, I, Olage. Olage, I, Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I, Thakur.
Thakur, I.
Thakur, I, you.
UI.
You, I, motion passes.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that Dr. Nathan Kalinowski be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Second for Pacheco. Any other board comment? Any in-person public comment on the motion? Seeing none, is there any WebEx comment on the motion? Facilitated, please, DC moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the vote.
The motion is to approve Dr. Nathan Kalinowski as evaluator for moderate sedation permit. Chan.
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng.
Tang, I.
Cheng, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, I.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, I.
Medina, I. Molina.
Molina, I.
Molina, I. Olage.
Olagi, I.
Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur.
Thakur, I.
Thakur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Madad Nasiri be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Is there a second?
You second.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Is there any other board discussion? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the public or in person? DCA moderator, please facilitate discussion for those on the WebEx who would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the question and answer panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please call the roll and record the votes.
Motion to approve Maktat Nasiri as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan.
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng.
Tang, I.
Cheng, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, I.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina. Medina.
Dina may be
Medina, I.
I.
absent.
Molina.
Molina, I.
Molina, I. Olage. Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur.
Thakur, I.
Thakur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Raihan Nazir be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Any second?
Second.
Thank you. That was Dr. Molina once again. Thank you. Any board comments? Are there any in-person comments on this motion? Seeing none, will the DCA moderator please facilitate the WebEx comments if there are any?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please call the roll once again and record the votes.
Motion is to approve Dr. Raihan Nasir as moderate sedation evaluator. Chen.
Chan, I.
Chen, I. Cheng.
Tang, I.
Cheng, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, I.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, I.
Medina, I. Molina. Molina, I. Olage. Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur.
Thakur, I.
Thakur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Eric Oakley be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Is there a second? Thank you, Mackenzie, second. Any other discussion on the board? Seeing none, is there any in-person comments on the motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for comments from those participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, Board Secretary. Please call the roll and record the votes.
Motion to approve Dr. Eric Oakley as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, aye.
Chan, I. Chang?
Chang, aye.
Chang, I. David?
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Molina, aye.
Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, I.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I make a motion that Dr. Pericles Prusaefs be approved as an evaluator for moderate sedation permits. Is there a second? Pacheco, second. Thank you. Any further board discussion? Seeing none. If there's any discussion in person, discussion here. That's okay. In-person people. Seeing none, will the DCA moderator please facilitate WebEx discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Would the board secretary please call the roll and record the votes?
Motion to approve Dr. Pericles Prusaefs as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, aye.
Chan, I. Chang?
Chang, aye.
Chang, I. David?
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Molina, aye.
Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, I.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Dr. Brian Randolph be approved as a moderate sedation permit holder, moderate sedation evaluator, excuse me. Second, please. Olagi, second. Thank you, Ms. Olagi. And do we have any other further board discussion? Seeing none, is there any in-person comments on this motion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, once again, open up the lines on WebEx for any public member who wishes to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, please call the roll and record the votes.
Motion is to approve Dr. Brian Randolph as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan?
Chan, aye.
Chan, I. Chang?
Chang, aye.
Chang, I. David?
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld? Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, aye, sorry.
Felsenfeld, I. Let Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Aye.
Molina, I. Olage? Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, I.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. Dr. Pacheco, Ms. Pacheco, do you want to make a comment on the next applicant, please, before we go any, well, let me nominate him first. I move that Dr. Jeremy Starr be approved to be a moderate sedation permit evaluator.
Pacheco, second.
No, Pacheco seconded. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to see that there's clarification on the type of practice on the application.
Same thing as before. This gentleman has, or it's a gentleman, I guess, yes, this gentleman has indicated several different types of practice. But again, I have to ask, he's been vetted and is capable of being a moderate sedation evaluated because he was a conscious sedation who's rolling over. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
so like before, you might double check with him why he put all those in. And just, Dr. Montez, do you want to comment?
We do verbally.
What's that?
We usually contact the evaluator, the applicant, and just ask verbally that they confirm that they made an error when they were filling.
Oh,
that
okay,
out.
that's what I'm saying. That's fine. That'll be fine. That's easy. That doesn't change his ability to do it because he was and he's now turning over to a noob, so that's fine. Okay, any other board comment? Ms. Pacheco, any other board comment? Is there any comment on this motion from the in-house people? Seeing none, BCA moderator, please evaluate, open it up. This is getting tiring. BCA moderator, please open up the lines for comments from those who are participating via WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. Board Secretary, would you please call the roll and record the votes again?
Motion to approve Dr. Jeremy Starr as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan.
And I.
Chan, I. Chang.
Chang,
Chang, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina. Molina, I. Olage. Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur.
Takur, aye.
Thakur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. The very last one. I make a motion that Dr. Eric Sung be approved as a moderate sedation permit evaluator.
I second.
Thank you, Dr. Molina, once again. Thank you. Any other board discussion? Seeing none. Any in-person discussion? Seeing none, DCA moderator, would you please open the lines for persons participating via WebEx to comment if they wish?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment.
Are we still? Okay.
I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Board Secretary,
Motion
call the
to,
roll. Go ahead.
motion to approve Dr. Eric Sun as moderate sedation evaluator. Chan.
Can I?
Chan, I. Chang.
Chang,
Chang, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina. Molina, I. Olage. Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur.
Takur, aye.
Thakur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
A lot of work, guys. This is very important stuff. We need to keep our our evaluators going. It gets tedious, and I apologize for a couple of slip-ups that I made, but Dr. Montez wants to make a comment. And thank you, Ms. Holney.
So thank you, board members, for catching that on the applications. Again, just want to reiterate that the Jessica's unit, the anesthesia unit does go through and vet and make sure all the information presented on the application is accurate or verifies where needed. So I'm thinking maybe in future meetings where we see that, if staff could put a note that it's been confirmed, that way the board staff or the board members will know that the team did their homework.
I should also clarify that that section of the application is really more of for staff's use. There isn't a requirement that they practice in a certain type of practice or specialty. This is more to assist us in trying to find evaluators that are similar when we have that opportunity. We can try to find evaluators that are probably specialists in that field and have similar practices when they go to those locations. So it's more of an internal use for us.
Thank you. All right, was there a comment? Mr. David, yes, sir.
And I understand that legal counsel's told us we have to take these up individually. I was hoping that maybe to save time at the board meeting, is there any way we could vote on these individually on the Breeze system?
Don't know the answer to that.
I did follow up with council and was told that we could not do that, but we can find the appropriate code to show you and double check.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your comments. It's tedious at best, at best. You should be where I'm sitting. All right, we have, let's go to item 11, and I think after 11, we're going to break for lunch. So we'll do that, and we're going to ask Jody Ortiz to come up. And item 11 is the elective facial cosmetic surgery EFCS Permit Credentialing Committee, October 23rd meeting, just recently. Report and discussion of possible action on recommendations on the EFCS permit applications. Good morning, Ms. Ortiz.
Good
This will be
morning.
simple. There's only two.
Yes.
Okay,
You can hear me okay? All righty. Thank you and good morning.
a little bit louder,
Still?
please, or turn the microphone up.
I'll get closer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing everybody again. My name is Jody Ortiz. I am the Chief of Licensing and Examination Division, and I will be presenting on agenda item number 11, which begins on 248 of your meeting materials. I'm reporting on the October 23rd, 2024 elective facial cosmetic surgery committee meeting that was held via teleconference to review and discuss 2 applications. 4 of the 5 committee members were present. Dr. Andre Guerrero Fernandez was not present. The EFC committee meets as needed on a quarterly basis to review and discuss applications. And upon a completion review of the applications, the committee shall make a recommendation to the board on whether to issue or not issue a permit to the applicant upon which they have applied in the following 2 categories. Category 1 consists of cosmetic contouring of the osteocardiogenius, mouthful, facial structure, which includes but is not limited to rhinoplasty or autoplasty. Category 2 consists of cosmetic soft tissue contouring and rejuvenation, which includes but is not limited to facelifts, lip augmentation, and blepharoplasty. The committee acted on each application by recommending one of the following options to the board to take action on. Move to recommend approval of the EFCS permit for both Category 1 and 2 procedures, or for either Category 1 or Category 2. Move to recommend denial of the application, or move to table the application for the EFCS permit. Staff is requesting the following action. If the board agrees with the committee's recommendation, the board is asked to consider and approve 2 separate motions as follows. Motion 1, move to grant the EFC permit application of Dr. TS for Category 2 privileges limited to performing Botox fillers, blepharoplasty, peels, liposuction, and facial skin resurfacing. And motion 2, move to grant the EFC permit application of Dr. HS for unlimited Category 1 privileges and Category 2 privileges limited to exclude rhytidectomy, also known as facelift, procedures. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We need a motion on the first applicant. Would someone else like to try that? Dr. Chan?
I have a point of inquiry.
Yes, sir.
This is for public record. And if through the chair and through the executive officer, maybe through the attorney, these are initials of the applicants versus their names. Can we explain for the public record why?
Tara Welch, Board Counsel. Can you hear it? My understanding is this is the board's practices before I was board counsel, but also I would say that we're just kind of protecting the process for these individuals, seeing as how they don't have the permit yet. And similarly, when other individuals are applying for a license or permits with the board, we don't automatically disclose their information publicly until they have a license issued or the permit issued. So we're utilizing initials because these folks, while they may have a dentist license, they do not have the permit issued yet for which they are applying.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Welsh, and thank you, Dr. Chan. All right, so with that, Dr. Chan, would you like to make a motion
I'll
on
move
the
to
first
grant,
one?
I'll move to grant the EFCS permit application of TSDDS for limited category 2 privileges.
Any second on that? Dr. Yu, I think you're coming for that.
second.
Dr. Yu is going to second that. Any further board discussion on that? Seeing none, is there any in-person comment on the motion? Seeing none. DCA moderator, please facilitate the comments from those participating via WebEx on this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, would you please record the vote?
I'll repeat the motion to grant the EFCS permit application of TSDDS for limited category 2 privileges. Chan.
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Chang.
Chang, I.
Chang, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, I.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, I.
Medina, I. Molina. Molina, I. Olage.
Olagi, I.
Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Takur.
Or I.
Takur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the second candidate?
Move to grant, move to grant the EFCS permit application for HHS DDS for unlimited Category 1 privileges and limited Category 2 privileges.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Liren, is that you? Dr.
Yeah.
Liren, second.
Yeah.
Is there any further board discussion? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public in person on this motion? Seeing none, will the DCA moderator please facilitate the line for WebEx comment on this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Board Secretary, will you please call the roll and record the votes?
Motion to grant EFCS permit application for HHS DDS for unlimited Category 1 privileges and limited Category 2 privileges. Chan.
Chan, I.
Chan, I. Chang.
Chang, I.
Chang, I. David.
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge.
Forge, I.
Forge, I. Larin, I. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, I. Medina.
Medina, I.
Medina, I. Molina.
Molina, I.
Molina, I. Olage.
Olagi, I.
Olage, I. Pacheco.
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Takur.
Takur, I.
Takur, I. You.
UI.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you. We are done with this item. I want to comment. I have to say, I forgot after the last group of 19 people that we, Ms. Ortiz, you can be seated. You can be standing up, I should say, and take off. But don't leave. Let me just sit in the back. So anyway, I forgot to congratulate and thank all of those evaluators. Clearly a very important part of our what we do. And I thank them for continuing on. And there was one new person doing GA. So thank you. Lunch is here. We're coming back at 1. Dr. Montez, you want to say something else? All right, lunch, 1 o'clock it is. We'll start again. Thank you for being here this morning.
Outside or? You wish you did outside.
And moderator, are we okay? DCA moderator, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, I
And
can.
are we good to go?
You're good to go.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Okay, we are now on item number 12, I believe it is, and that's going to be an update and discussion from our Board Access to Care Committee. Dr. Lorin or Dr. Thakur, who's going to be speaking? Dr. Lorin is going to be speaking. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm glad we did this after lunch. My mouth.
No. Make your mic closer.
It's on.
Bend it towards your mouth.
And, okay, here it goes. Hello again. I'm Dr. Ladine.
There you go.
I will be reporting on the Access to Care Committee, item 12, found on page 250 of the meeting materials. The Access to Care Committee was reestablished in 2023 with the purpose of generating ideas of improving access to dental care across California. Dr. Yagita Thakur and myself are on this committee. The committee and staff continue to address recruitment and retention of RDAs and is considering the translation of the exam to other languages. A revised version of the RDA Candidate Information Bulletin and Examination Plan have been posted on the website. And at our August meeting, the board reviewed the RDA pass rate statistics and results of the survey questions that were answered by candidates during their RDA exam. A request was made at the last meeting to add an additional survey question that analyzes how candidates prepare for the RDA exam. The results came out, and you can see them on page 251 of the meeting materials. There was approximately 1,100 survey responses. I think Tracy said this is not a formal survey, but it was the results of a survey that was done just to give us preliminary idea of what's happening out there. And I thought it was very interesting to find out that 836 did self-study, but only passed at a 74% rate. And the ones who prep with a prep course, they passed at 86, although the numbers were very different. The self-study was 836 at 74%, and the ones who took the prep course were only 13, but they passed at 86%. So there are other statistics on here that you can review. So we're still working on that, and I thought that was a very good question to ask. So that gives them an idea of what's happening with the exam. So maybe we need some more study courses out there to prepare the candidates. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lorin. Dr. Montez, you want to do some psychometric talk?
Actually not. Surprise. But what I would like to add to this regarding access to care, as Dr. Lorin stated, that we are doing additional research on translating the examinations, and board staff did meet with DNB because they are moving towards translating their exams. They've started with radiation safety, which is one of their smaller exam programs. And we were quite impressed. I guess I will say from a psychometric perspective, I was impressed with their translation process because they are using artificial intelligence, but they are also continue to use subject matter experts in the review. So they're being careful in their use of artificial intelligence, and they had a lot of good information, lessons learned that they will be rolling out with the additional programs or exams that they do translate. So right now sample sizes are very small, so they don't have any, data to share, but we are in communications with them. And then also with regard to access to care, I met with stakeholders who are interested in the licensing of immigrants, and a couple of the organizations in this call were Immigrants Rising, Transforming Lives Through Education, and then also they're called PhD Dreamers, Pre-Health Dreamers. And so these groups are speaking with DCA boards and bureaus to talk about licensing and any concerns that immigrants may have, for example, social security numbers versus ITINs and things like that. So they asked for some information that I'm going to provide to them, and we're going to again continue having conversations to see how we can address this and fold it into the access to care issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mount. This is very helpful. Staff has been great. Thank you, Dr. Rosenfeld. Yeah.
Dr. Thakur, you have anything you want to comment relative to that? Good morning and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. No, and nothing really to add, but I'm also excited about the changes coming up with the Sunset Bill. That hopefully we will have more dental assistants being able to do more, and we could get more people into the industry. We'll see.
Okay. Appreciate what you both have done, and the work continues. It's not gonna go away so quick. So unfortunately, are there any board comments other than mine right now? Any other board comments? Seeing none. Any comments from in-person? No one here. DCA moderator, would you please facilitate the WebEx for people who want to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 12, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or simply raise your hand. We will give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Miyazaki, don't sit down. Sorry. We are now moving to item number 13, I think it is, and that would be the report of the Dental Assisting Council meeting. Right on time, Ms. Miyazaki. Catch your breath. It's okay.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Today, Thursday, November 7th, 2024, the Dental Assisting Council met, and here's the summary of our meeting. Agenda items 1 through 11A included establishment of a quorum, approval of past meeting minutes, informational items, usual and customary updates. Agenda item 11B was about updating discussion and possible recommendation to the board on proposed legislation of interest, Senate Bill 1453, legislative proposal to amend BPC Section 1725 regarding dental auxiliary course and educational program fees. This agenda item was tabled to a future meeting at a date to be determined. For agenda item 12, Ms. Deandra Epps Robbins was elected as the Dental Assisting Council Chair, and Ms. Jerry Fowler was elected as the Dental Assisting Council Vice Chair. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miyazaki. Is there any board questions or comments about the report? Seeing none, are there any in-person comments from our in-person people? And before we go, one last thing, DCA moderator, do you have any comments from those who are participating via WebEx? Would you please facilitate the lines for that?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 13, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miyazaki. Before you go, I just want to, on behalf of the board, congratulate you on a wonderful year. You've worked hard. You've done a very good job on running the council. And are you stepping out, or you'll be still with us?
I'll still be a member of the Dental Assisting Council.
There you go. That's good. Thank you for all your hard work, and I know that you'll be able to contribute to them continually.
Thank you.
All right, now you can step out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on now to agenda item number 14A, status update on pending regulations. We have with us Mr. Brant Nelson, who is new to this position, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
You have a busy job and a lot of work to do, and you have a lot of reporting to do, and we look forward to your enthusiasm.
Thank you, Dr.
Go
Felsenfeld.
for it, sir.
So I'll be presenting agenda item 14A today. This is found on page 253 of your board materials. I'll just kind of briefly go over the background on this. This is an update on the rulemaking packages that have moved forward in the formal rulemaking process since our last board meeting. Beginning here, I have updates to the board's uniform standards for substance abusing licensees. The update I have for you on this regulation is that the board approved proposed text for this rulemaking in its November 2023 board meeting. Board staff filed the initial rulemaking package with the Office of Administrative Law, and the notice was published in the notice register on May 31st, 2024. The 45-day public comment period ended on July 16th, 2024. No adverse comments were received on the proposed rulemaking. OAL approved the rulemaking on September 26, 2024. The regulations go into effect on January 1st, 2025, and the updated standards are available on the board's website in the Laws and Regulations section under Regulations.
Thank you.
The next one I have, we did an application for a licensure by examination. Just an update on this one. The proposed text was approved by the board at the November 2023 board meeting. Board staff continue to work on this complex initial rulemaking package. The next one I have for you is the dental assisting exams package. The update I have for you on this one is the proposed text was approved by the board at the November 2023 meeting. Board staff filed a package with OAL, that's the Office of Administrative Law, which published it in the Notice Register on July 12, 2024. That started the 45-day public comment period that ended on August 27, 2024. Since no adverse comments were received, the rulemaking package was filed with OAL on October 9th, 2024. And then the next one I have is Dental Assisting Regulations Working Group. On this one, the update I have for you is the Dental Assisting Regulations Working Group will be meeting in December to review the next article of regulations to modify and present at the February 2025 council and board meetings. And then lastly, I have the Infection Control Regulations Working Group, and this is actually going to be elaborated a little more on the next item. At its February 2024 board meeting, the board appointed a two-person working group to review and propose revised language for the board's infection control regulations. That's found in CCR Title 16, Section 1005. The working group, consisting of Council Chair Miyazaki and Board Vice President Joanne Pacheco, has been reviewing iterations of proposed regulatory language. Board staff consults with the Dental Hygiene Board of California and their subject matter expert to receive input on the proposed regulations. And again, we're going to expand a lot more on that in the next item. But this entire summary that I provided here at this item is information only. No action is requested, and this concludes the agenda item.
Thank you. I'll start with my first question. This is for me because I sometimes get lost in the process. It's a very complex process between statute and regulations. And perhaps for some of our newer members who are maybe less familiar with it than I am, which is virtually impossible. That being said, given the first couple that you talked about and the ones that are still in process, it's got to be about a year or more before a regulation can actually be proposed and actually actually put into statute or put into the regulations. Is that correct? Is that a reasonable thing?
I would not characterize it like In-N-Out Burger, where you can just quickly get what you want from the menu. It does take about the amount of time roughly that you're describing in my experience. And so, yes, it's good to be forward-looking on these things, really take into account all the information and get it right, because it does take some time to get through the process.
Okay. And all those 45 and 30 days or 15 days, the comments, changes, comments, it's a very difficult process. It's tedious. Let's put it that way.
I would characterize it as such.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just good. Did you want to say something, Dr. Montez? She was going to comment on something.
Well, I was just going to comment. I do, and staff can correct me, but I do think, for example, the application for licensure and examination, although the text was initially approved a year ago, working through the sunset bill, again, things came up. And so it does continue to push things forward and add to the complexity. But I will say the board's been wonderful with moving regulations, at a real good clip. So even though it does take a year or more, staff have stayed on it, and we have an excellent reg attorney, Christy Shields. She's Tara's counterpart, and we're very fortunate.
We're doing the best we can, and we are doing well. I would agree with that. Any other board comment on this report? Seeing none, are there any in-person comments, public comments? Seeing none, are there public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 14A, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I'll give you a moment. All right, I see no comments. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. That was informational. Now we're going to go to agenda item 14B, a discussion and possible action to initiate a rulemaking to amend CCR Regulation Title 16, Section 1005 regarding minimal standard for infection control. You promised it would come later. It's now.
It's now.
Mr. Nelson, continue.
Thank you. Some background on agenda item 14B. I'll just go ahead and read this. Business and Professions Code, Section 1680 requires the Dental Board of California to annually renew and, if necessary, adopt new regulations to facilitate minimum standards for infection control that adequately address patient safety needs. The board's Infection Control Advisory Working Group, consisting of Joanne Pacheco and Kara Miyasaki, and a subject matter expert from the Dental Hygiene Board of California, have reviewed the regulations for clarity of language, necessity for amendments, and consistency with other governing agencies, such as Cal OSHA and Cal EPA and the Centers for Disease Control. Board staff also reviewed with the Medical Board of California, the California Board of Podiatric Medicine, the Board of Registered Nursing, and the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians infection control documents. The goal was to establish consensus and appropriate consistency on the proposed regulatory amendments to the minimum standards for infection control and subsequent implementation of those standards. The goal has not been met to date, therefore the proposed language is not included in these materials and instead will be brought to the Dental Hygienist Board meeting on November 15th through 16th, 2024. And if approved, the proposed language will then be presented at the February 6th and 7th, 2025 Dental Assisting Council and board meetings. This is just informational. No action is requested, and this concludes this agenda item.
Thank you. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
But it's progressing, and that's the important thing. Yeah?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, excellent. Any other board comments on this issue? No. Are there any in-person comments on? None. Are there public comments from individuals who are participating via WebEx? If the DCA moderator would please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I have opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on 14B, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Nelson. We look forward to more of you. So we move on now to item number 15, and it's going to be an update and discussion of possible action on table of permitted dental auxiliary duties delegatable by a supervising dentist as required in CCR 161068. Ms. Valerie, welcome back.
Good afternoon. California Code of Regulations, Section 1068 requires dentists utilizing the services of dental auxiliaries to post a notice that delineates the duties and functions of the dental auxiliaries. With the passage of our Sunset Bill, SB 1453, staff identified the need to update the current table. The attached table includes the duties that may be delegated by a dentist to dental assistants, orthodontic assistants, dental sedation assistants, registered dental assistants, and registered dental assistants in extended functions. This morning, the DAC has approved for this table to move forward to the board for approval for distribution and posting, which is what we are now asking of the board. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
Olagi, you'd like
Comments?
to make a motion?
You
Or move-
can if you like. I was going to see if there are any questions,
Oh.
but not, you make a motion, Mr. Loggy. That'd be great.
Okay, move to approve the table of permitted dental auxiliary duties delegatable by supervising dentists as required by California Code of Regulations, Title 16, Section 1068 for distribution and posting.
Thank you. Anyone want to second that?
Pacheco, second.
Ms. Pacheco, all right. Thank you very much. We're going to ask for board comment on this motion to approve what we have in front of us. Ms. David, you want to comment or are you okay? Did you want to make a comment? Mr. David? No, okay, that's fine. Okay, we're going to go to public comment from those who are participating here. Dr. Atchison, good morning, good afternoon to you, sir. Have a seat and tell us who you are, what you like.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Guy Atchison. I'm here as a private dentist here in California, and I have a question regarding the apparently an expanded duty for DAs of coronal polish. And I wondered if there are any limitations on the tools and instruments that the DA is authorized to use to complete this procedure.
Would the board like staff to answer that, or would you like staff to follow up?
Do we have an answer? Do we know if there's an answer in there? If there's easy to do it, if not, we'll follow up and let you know to be sure.
So what I'll say is that they're able to use the duties to perform that function once they've completed the course.
Okay, that doesn't answer my question about whether they're limited to a rubber cup and a slow speed handpiece, or whether they're authorized to use air abrasion, or whether they're authorized to use ultrasonic instrumentation. So I would have concerns about what tools and instruments they're allowed to use.
The dentist is supervising, so they can make that decision. The dentist has the ultimate authority. So once they're approved a coronal polish, they can use whatever tools that the dentist then deems them to be competent to use. They have the authority now by law to do coronal polish.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Witcher, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Bruce Witcher, practicing dentist, speaking for myself. I had a similar question related to the sedation related duties, primarily had to do with applying monitoring sensors. The code actually says you can also have them do patient monitoring, that is a delegable duty. So I guess that's discretion of the dentist, similar to what you described earlier. So
Pretty
if you
much
think they
obvious,
can do it,
yes.
they can do it.
Correct. And again, as the Sunset Bill evolves, any concerns, questions, public safety, patient safety, bring them to the board's attention and they'll be addressed as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Witcher. Any more in-person public comment? If none, DCA moderator, would you please facilitate comment from those participating via WebEx?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 15, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. It looks like we're about ready to vote. Dr. Lorraine, would you like to?
I second the motion.
I thought the motion was seconded. Yeah, Dr.
was
Ms. Pacheco did that. Thank you. But we're ready to vote. Go ahead, Dr. Lorraine, if you will.
The motion is to move to approve the table of permitted dental auxiliary duties delegable by a supervising dentist as required by California Code of Regulations, Title 16, Section 1068 for distribution and posting. Chan?
Jan, I.
Chan, I. Cheng?
Chang, aye.
Cheng, I. David?
David, I.
David, I. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld, yes.
Felsenfeld, I. Forge?
Forge, aye.
Forge, I. Ladine, I. McKenzie?
McKenzie, yes.
McKenzie, I. Medina?
Medina, aye.
Medina, I. Molina?
Molina, I.
Molina, I. Olage?
Olagi, aye.
Olage, I. Pacheco?
Pacheco, aye.
Pacheco, I. Thakur?
Thakur, aye.
Thakur, I. You?
You, aye.
You, I. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Valerie. We're going to move on down to item number, if I can find the number here, it's here somewhere, I'm sure. We're looking for, it's the one on enforcement. Mr. Blonian, work your way up here while I find the item number. Here, item 16A. Thank you, sir. Enforcement review of statistics and trends. Mr. Blonian. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Our report for the quarter's stats is here. You can read them and review them without me reading them to you. But we did have a question from the last or recent board meeting about our complaints, how they come in. And that's noted on the first couple of paragraphs on the first page of the report about how we received 1,302 complaints during the July 1 to September 30 period, average of 404 complaints a month. Of those complaints, 523 were received online and 386 were paper. Now I do the math in my head and that doesn't equal 1,302. And you're probably wondering how we get there. We get a number of cases that are open when subsequent arrest reports are received. That's where a licensee gets arrested for any crime that there is. We receive reports from on various sources where a licensee may have been excluded from practice or had privileges at a hospital restricted for a variety of reasons. So when you throw those in there, that probably makes up a vast majority of those missing numbers that are there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kalanian. That answers that. Dr. Matez?
Yes, so again, thank you. This was actually the question that Mr. David raised at the last board meeting, so we included that for you. And then the question you had earlier about the increase in complaints, we're seeing a significant number or increase in complaints monthly, and staff may want to add to this, but I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're doing outreach. We are doing our newsletters. We're doing things to make sure that consumers are aware that there's an avenue for filing complaints. We respond to media requests. They go out and they do some stories, things like that. I also think that our consumers are becoming more savvy about filing complaints and knowing their rights. And so that's what I would make a reasonable guess as to why complaints are increasing. I don't think there's more mistakes being made. I think that individuals just know that they have a method or some recourse for what happens. Ryan, if you have anything to add, or any of our other managers here.
We're seeing dentistry transition, and it's been underway for a while, from where you're a single practitioner with one office and your patient and his mother and his father and maybe his grandfather. And it's easy for me to go to you and say, you did this filling the other day, it fell out, can you fix it? With the corporate dentistry that we have now, they may see 5 different dentists who they have no idea who they are, who work on them on 5 different appointments at the same office. And it has removed a lot of that interpersonal interaction. And it's time-based, and it's turn the chair over as quick as you can. So a lot of that get to know you and interaction is gone. And I think that's playing part of what we're seeing too.
I'd like to, yeah, Mr. David, sure.
I was wondering whether part of the increase in complaints was related to people put off dental procedures during COVID, and maybe there's just a lot more dental procedures going on.
I really haven't noticed that to any extent.
I think if you had dental needs, COVID was over in 22, 23, so it's been a number of months. So I would think, just from a dental standpoint, can you substantiate that these are coming from these rapid turnover dentist clinics? Do you have that information?
We have the name of the clinics.
Okay,
and it's all logged when they.
You do have some information. That's just want to know if we're keep track of that in any way.
Yeah, every subject is recorded.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Now let's see, that was board questions. Public members, any public, what's that? I got one more, Dr. Chan, sorry.
Good afternoon, Ryan. Would it be of value for us to categorize the types of complaints, and then as it moves through the system, categorize the enforcement actions based on those complaints? So that's the first question, to understand where they're coming from, what's the nature of these complaints.
So hopefully the offices that are the subject of the complaint has a fictitious name permit, so we can track it that way. And then every dentist that works there is also hopefully licensed, so we can, once we identify who the party is involved, we can track it through that too. So if you said 123 ABC Dentistry of El Centro, we could hopefully look that up and say, we've had this much complaint history from them.
Well, the complaints for more operative dentistry types of procedures, surgical types of procedure, by tracking those, would we have more idea what the marketplace looks like and what to go after preventatively?
I'm just thinking of the data entry responsibility that would go with that, from everything from an SRP to a root canal. And then, you would be taking that Delta Dental code book and somehow incorporating that into what we're doing. And I don't ever want to look at that Delta Dental code book. So
yeah, I'm going to jump in. I don't think we could do that, because that's not something our BRIE system would allow us to do. We focus on like the standard of care codes, negligence, things like that. But to go down into the weeds of exactly what each complaint is would be, I think, overwhelming. And we would not be able to do that in our BRIE system. into
Okay,
the weeds,
That's the
that
entry
is.
level. What about the back end? The back end where we have it finally going to the ALJ. And then up to us to see what types of trends we might be seeing. We don't know a trend till we set a baseline.
Yeah, but it's still based upon the code violations.
The 1680s and the
Yeah.
1670s, and that's what we charge basically on.
The second question is, would it be of value to see what types, not what types, to segment the market that we look at, dentist-based complaints versus RDA or dental assistant complaints? Go ahead.
You're saying dentist versus RDA?
Yeah.
We don't get RDA complaints.
Not
It's-
very many.
Yeah, it's very, very rare
Exceeding
because,
scope.
yeah, because it's the dentist that supervise the RDA. So if there's a complaint, it's usually because of what the dentist did. Occasionally, we might get a complaint against a rude RDA, but not a scope of practice on an RDA. It's very rare.
For clarification, why do we get disciplinary cases involving RDAs?
A lot of those are going to be SAR cases where they've been arrested for some offense.
Okay.
Occasionally, you'll get an RDA who may do unlicensed practice, but I mean, that's few and far between.
Okay.
I would say the vast majority of the RDA cases are for subsequent arrest.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
I have a question or a comment, actually. I noticed that the number of complaints online are 523 versus the written 386. So I'm wondering if we're having a higher number of complaints because people are getting more familiar with the online process?
I think so. It's an instant submission when you do it that way, and it's not fill it out, put the stamp on it, walk it to the mailbox and wait however long. So this way you get an instant complaint filed. Our staff can interact with the complainant a lot more quickly that way too. So I think people are getting more familiar with it and more comfortable with using it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. That's that's a good thing.
Yes.
We are absolutely looking to make it easy if someone's got an issue that we can look at it. That's
Yes.
part of what we do. Okay, any other board member comments on Mr. Blumion's report? Seeing none, how about members of the public who are here in the room? No comments. And DCA moderator, once again, would you please facilitate the lines for public comments for those on WebEx?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 16A, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment.
Oh, we have a hand up. I'm sorry. CDA moderator, can you see? That's Dr. Thakur? I can't tell who it is.
Yes.
Thakur? Okay. Dr. Thakur, did you want, hang on one second. Oh, you're on WebEx. I guess you have to go ahead and go for it, Dr. Thakur.
Yeah, I just had another comment about if there were repeat offenses from or repeat complaints from a particular office, is that something we could track?
Did you hear
It
the
was
question?
cutting in and out, but I think she
Yeah.
said repeat or
Yes,
recurring
or repeat,
complaints? Yes.
repeat complaints or multiple complaints from one organization, one office.
Each complaint we receive is given a unique number and opened. So if we have one dental office and 20 patients complain, there should be 20 complaints open.
But is there a way to track to say, okay, there is a recurring problem with this office?
Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. We do track them. They're in the system. They're only public though if the action has been taken. So we can't come to a board meeting and say ABC Dental Office has 16 complaints pending. But we do track it in the investigative process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thakur. I think we're about, now I'm a little confused. Other people, did we do DCA moderator and there's no vote that's to be taken? A public comment from the DCA. That's correct. Thank you. And I saw Dr. Thakur up there. All right, moderator, do we have anyone else wanting to make a comment from out in WebEx land?
No, we do not.
All right, then, thank you. Turn it over to Mr. Blonian. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. I'm sorry you have so much to do, but we're here to take care of that as a board. So thank you. All right, item number 16B is a presentation from the board's Enforcement Committee and discussion on the Department of Consumers Affairs Enlighten Enforcement Project. Dr. Pacheco, you're a doctor today, and she is going to comment on that for us.
It's basically an update.
You on? I don't think it's on. There you go.
This is an update. So in 2023, the Dental Board of California reestablished the Enforcement Committee. The board volunteered to be the first board to participate in the project to pilot it. And the purpose was to look at the timeframes, possibly lowering costs and being more efficient in the workflows. The committee, the Enlightenment Enforcement Project, held numerous demonstrations during 23-24 to complete mapping. And my understanding is that it is completed and that a full report will be delivered at the February meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Informational, is there any comment from any of the board members? Seeing none, is there any comments from any of the in-person members? All right, DCA moderator, once again, would you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
Thank you,
It's with us.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 16B, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you very much. Our next item is item 17A, the diversion program report and statistics. I think Dr. Montez is going to handle that. Nope. Oh, whoa, hello. We have someone new. And I don't know who you are, so I can't introduce you. Who are you?
I'm Christy Bell, Assistant
Oh, you're Christy
Executive
Bell. My
Officer.
goodness, I talked to you. You look just like your voice. It's all good.
That's a good thing.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bell. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank
We'll be seeing
you.
you more.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm presenting agenda item 17A, the Diversion Program Report and Statistics. The Diversion Evaluation Committee Program Statistics for the quarter ending on September 30th are provided below. These statistics reflect the participant activity in the diversion program and are presented for informational purposes only.
All right. Are there any questions on the report by board members for Ms. Bell? Seeing none.
I have a
I'm sorry.
I have a
Dr.
comment.
Molina, go ahead.
I just have a comment. Personally, I feel that the BREEZE method has been very helpful because before we had this system, it was kind of hard to keep track of the cases that we would get and whether we had responded and so forth. And now when we go on the BREEZE, it just has, all the cases, whether we had voted. And so it's very, very helpful.
Good.
All right, thank you. Yes, Mr. David, go ahead, sir.
If you could just comment, I note that the number of drug tests ordered has decreased fairly significantly over the past 3 fiscal years. Any comment?
It's because our participants have shrunk. Before we had almost double what we have now. We have 4.
The number of people that need to have drug tests has decreased, is what you're saying?
Yes, everyone in the diversion program is required to drug test, and we only have 4 participants, where in past years we've had more.
Okay, that's a good thing. Maybe. That's a good thing. Okay. Any other comments from the board? Are there any comments on Ms. Bell's report? Wait, Dr. Montez, you're going to say something?
I'm going to say that I appreciate Christy being here today to give this report. I usually do it for her because she is at the office holding down the fort while I'm attending meetings. But again, she will be facilitating likely our February board meeting. And I just again want to reassure the board that Christy is wonderful, and just because she hasn't been here, she has been with us, listening to the meeting and following along. So we work extremely close together and keep each other updated and so forth. So glad that she could make it today.
We look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you. Me too.
All right, thank you. Do we have any we did everything? No, we didn't do in-person comments on the report? Not yet. In-person comments on the report from members in the audience? Seeing none. DCA moderator, would you please once again facilitate comments from those by WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on 17A, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. Mr. Board President, I return the floor to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Bell. Thank you. We'll see you again.
Yes.
And again. Okay, thanks for coming down. Okay, we now turn to item number 18, agenda item 8, which is the election of the 2025 board officers. We're doing it tonight for timing reasons and so on. Usually it's the end of the second day, but we're going to do it tonight, and Dr. Montez is going to take this over.
Okay, thank you very much. Tracy Montez, Executive Officer for the board. As per our board council and committee member administrative manual and procedure manual, which was adopted in August, I am going to conduct board elections, and I will be starting with the position or the office of secretary. So with that, let me go to my notes here. All righty, so I would now like to open nominations for the 2025 board secretary position. To date, Dr. Loren has been nominated for board secretary, her current position. I would like to confirm for the record if Dr. Loren accepts the nomination for board secretary.
I do, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to ask if there are any other nominations for the board secretary position. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to appoint Dr. Loren as the 2025 board secretary? Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, with that, are there any in-person public comments on the nomination? Seeing none, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on the nomination, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. I will now ask board staff to call the roll and record the votes for Dr. Loren as the 2025 board secretary.
This is Morella Turan. I will now call the roll for Lilia Loren as the 2025 secretary. Chan,
Chan, yes.
Chang,
Chang, aye.
David,
David, aye.
Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Forge,
Forge, aye.
Loren,
Aye.
Mackenzie,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Olagi,
Olagi, yes.
Pacheco,
Pacheco, yes.
Takor,
Or yes.
you.
Yes, you yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, I would now like to open nominations for the 2025 board vice president. To date, Dr. Felsenfeld has been nominated for board vice president. I would like to confirm for the record if Dr. Felsenfeld accepts the nomination for board vice president.
I do.
Thank you. Also to date, I have Dr. Yu has been nominated for board vice president. I would like to confirm for the record if Dr. Yu accepts the nomination for board vice president.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So are there any other nominations for board vice president? Seeing none, we have two individuals who have been nominated for Board Vice President, Dr. Felsenfeld and Dr. Yu. I would like to ask if there is a motion to appoint either Dr. Felsenfeld or Dr. Yu as the 2025 Board Vice President.
I'll move to approve Dr. Felsenfeld as Board Vice President.
Hey, do I have a second?
Mackenzie second.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint or to elect Dr. Felsenfeld as Board Vice President. Are there any public comments? Okay, are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you so much. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on the nominations, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. I will now ask for board staff to call the roll and record the votes for Dr. Felsenfeld as the 2025 Vice President, Board Vice President.
This is Morella Turan. I will now call the roll for Dr. Felsenfeld as the 2025 Board Vice President. Chan,
Jan, yes.
Chang,
Chang, yes.
David,
David, yes.
Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Forge,
Forge, yes.
Laren,
Yes.
Mackenzie,
Mackenzie, yes.
Medina,
Medina, yes.
Molina,
Lena, yes.
Olagi, Pacheco,
Pacheco, yes.
Takor,
Takor, yes.
You, yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, I would now like to open nominations for board president. To date, Dr. Chan has been nominated for the 2025 board president. I would like to confirm for the record if Dr. Chan accepts the nomination for board president.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask if there are any other nominations for the board president position. Okay, I would now like to ask for a motion to nominate or appoint Dr. Chan as the 2025 board president.
I will nominate Dr. Chan to be the board president for 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
You second.
You second. Are there any in-person public comments? Are there any public comments from individuals participating via WebEx? DCA moderator, please facilitate the lines for public comment.
Thank you. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on the nomination, please either raise your hand or type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. We'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. I will now ask for board staff to call the roll and record the votes for Dr. Chan as the 2025 board president.
This is Morella Turan. I will now call the roll for Dr. Chan as the 2025 board president. Chan,
Chan, yes.
Chang,
Chang, yes.
David,
David, yes.
Felsenfeld,
Felsenfeld, yes.
Forge,
Forge, yes.
Laren,
Yes.
Mackenzie, yes.
Medina,
Medina, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Olagi,
Olagi, yes.
Pacheco, Takor,
Yes.
Yu.
You, yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate our new set of 2025 board officers, Dr. Chan as president, Dr. Felsenfeld as vice president, and Dr. Loren as secretary. Your official terms begin on January 1st, 2025, and I would like to now open it up to board comments regarding elections before we close this item. Are there any closing remarks?
Quite a privilege. I'd like to thank my colleagues for their faith in me. And I'd like to thank Alan. He runs a great meeting. He runs a fair meeting. He moves us forward, and he's been a model. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. Thank you. Very nice.
I have a comment as well. I just wanted to say congratulations to those that have been elected. I know it's not an easy job, and good luck to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Forge. Okay, with that, I will turn it back over to Dr. Felsenfeld.
Okay, we're about to disassemble and go home. We're almost done. I've got one last thing I need to do, sadly, and that's not resign because I guess I'm going to be the vice president. We're going to have a closed session, and board members stay here. We're going to start the closed session at 2:00. If that's okay with council. Everyone else is going to have to leave, but I'd like to stand up to do this, and I think you can probably hear me because I have a booming voice, my wife tells me. She tells me lots of things. The bottom line is, every once in a while, the journey has to come to an end. Can you hear me, Wilbert? People online can't. That's fine. All right, that's better. Can you hear me now? Is it on? Okay, very good. I'm not going to tell this story. All right, so the bottom line is every once in a while, a journey comes to an end, and sometimes that's very happy, and sometimes it's not. We have two members of our board who I have worked with quite a bit over the years who are leaving us for various reasons, mostly because they're terming out or the position is termed out. And that's Ms. Pacheco and Ms. McKenzie. I'd like them to stand up for a couple of seconds just to say hi. They have stand up for a couple of seconds. I'm still in charge, I think, for a little bit. Anyway, both of these guys have been incredible on our board. They've had all kinds of things to say that are cogent. They've worked hard. They're smart. They've made good suggestions. Ms. Pacheco has been the secretary, the vice president, the president, and there was one other thing on your plaque, which I'll give you in a minute, and it would be the board member. Well, you've been a board member for 6 years, and you've been a board member for 62 years, it looks like. You've been there forever. Well, actually, 11 years for you. We have ways, some terms, but you can take someone else's term and grace years and all kinds of, never understood it. Anyway, I want to thank you both. This has been an incredible journey for me personally, and you contributed both to the board. I know you're going to be doing great things in the future. I've talked to you about that. I'm not sure where you're going, but you're going to go back to your law firm and do what you have to do. I want to offer a plaque to Ms. McKenzie, who has been with us since 2013. That's, I think, you're the longest standing board member right now, I believe, right? Yep. No one else has been here as long as you have. You're standing. You'll sit down in a minute. And Joanne and I we've had we've had some sushi together too. These two are my sushi partners. Anyway, Joanne has been a board member since 2018, a full 6 years. And she was president in 21, vice president in 23, 24, working with me, and thank you, and secretary in 2020. And you're going to do great too. So she's got a big old school that educates 60 hygienists every year. That's 60 classes. That's terrific. So thank you both for everything you've done. You're going to have to leave us. You're not going to be here tomorrow. I know that. If you're doing dinner with us, we'll maybe say a couple of words there too. So thank you both, everybody. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Recess. Sorry, you're right. I knew that from political. I used to be a geek. All right. We're going to recess the meeting till tomorrow morning at 8:30. We're going to have 2:00 for those of you who are going to be here for the closed session. Please stay. All right.
Pardon me? That's it. You can end it. Yeah. We don't have to go back.
Casual problem. Yeah, I got it. You've never.
This is all I have.
As good as I ever get. This is my wedding, bar mitzvah, funeral.
But you know,
You name it, I wear it. And you know what? It almost fits still. It's a little tight, but not too bad.
Well, you know that this is your fault.
Oh my
That's my
God.
fault. Why?
Yeah.
I taught you something else?
Yes.
Bye,
The House
Ms.
delegate.
Medina, Dr. Thakor, and Dr. Forge.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.